We'll just call it General Sports Day.
Welcome, everybody, to Survive in Advance on the Gruely True Sports Network. Survive in Advance is brought to you by nobody right now, but it will be shortly. So we are taking anybody that wants to be a sponsor. Over the last 6 months, we've had over 600,000 downloads. We thank everybody for listens every day. I am your co-host for Survive in Advance, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I want to welcome in my other co-host, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing fine today, Mike. Kind of a slow sports day, but we're going to churn some butter here today and hash out some things that kind of we always have in the back burner we wanted to discuss a little bit. So the only real sports news of the day really probably is college basketball, where it looks like if they can get by Duke at Camden on Saturday, it appears that Virginia will be poised to take over the coveted number one slot in the rankings polls. Looks like they'll be leapfrogging Michigan, apparently, from what I'm hearing from everybody. We'll have to wait and see. I still think getting by Duke, even with their star guard being short at Camden, is still a pretty tough task. That's a pretty rabid place to go play basketball, and Duke, as much as anybody, defends their turf as well as anybody in the country. And
Steve, you realize Syracuse beat them at Duke, right?
Oh, well, never mind then. Forget it. I guess Virginia's going to be number one. I don't know why I thought the game was on a neutral court.
So today,
well, they never lose twice in a row. They never lose twice in a row at Camden. Let's put it that way.
So today, some of our topics will be: should the NFL do away with the kickoff? Should they do away with the Pro Bowl? What teams, we know every year there's teams that go from last to first to make the playoffs, but there's also teams that are playoff teams that the next year completely fall off the face of the earth and aren't playoff teams. We'll discuss who we think some of those teams could be a little bit later on today. And, of course, we will have Bobby Sheridan on, who I think once again last night, he was on yesterday, he was on the day before. Every pick he's given us has been right. So if you want to make some money, bet with whatever the Sheridan report says. That'll be on here in about a half hour to 40 minutes. Steve, you want to get us started?
Yeah, well, I wrote down 4 questions because it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a slow sports day. We've got a lot going on. We're kind of in between everything. But some of the things you and I talked about, like would be fun to talk about when we have some free time. Let's start off with the playoffs right now, and we're down to the Final Four now. But we've eliminated 12 teams, I believe, out of the playoffs so far. So let's talk about the teams that you think, being the resident football genius that you are, and being the good question asker that I am, what teams do you think are in danger of not making the playoffs next year that made it this year? Let's just go through the list.
Okay.
Let's go.
What do you want to start with?
Colts?
The Colts? It's according to what they do in the offseason. You would think they would be all right. Houston is a team that is on the rise. The Titans are a good team. I think the Colts are safe. I think they'll be in the running again next year.
I think they'll be stronger because I think like I said, they have $118 million in cap money to spend. Their GM does not seem to be a bonehead, Chris Ballard.
Yeah, but you got to remember this, Steve. The majority of teams that will go out, because Miami's been that far under before, they go out and they buy a bunch of star players and it doesn't work out. So I think the big thing is they've got to get the right people.
But you look at how Ballard drafted last year with Quentin Nelson and with Darius Leonard. Those weren't exactly household names. I mean, they were great players, and they were all Americans. Like, I don't know if Leonard was or not. I think he came from Jacksonville or Jacksonville State. They weren't really what you would call. Nelson was part of the celebrated offensive line of Notre Dame, but really you don't consider a guard to be a star player. An essential, integral player, no doubt. But, he drafted potentially, I saw where in one poll already, Darius Leonard's already been named Defensive Rookie of the Year. I don't know if it's the big poll or the NFL award, but I saw
it. It's not the NFL award yet. I think those are given out the weekend.
The night before the Super Bowl, I think, yeah. But he was already named Defensive Rookie of the Year in one poll. Quentin Nelson is oft mentioned with, Saquon Barkley up there with a couple of the star type players to be offensive rookie of the year. My gut feeling is it's probably going to go to Barkley, but Nelson certainly has changed the face of the Colts and that offensive line. But so I don't think that the Colts are going to be a team that's going to draft silly, and I think they need some defensive backs, they need some rushers, and they need another receiver to offset T.Y. Hilton.
Need another offensive lineman too to replace number 7.
Yeah, they need another offensive lineman. With $118 million, if you spread that around wisely, that's a good investment in your team. I think that their running back is more than adequate with Andrew Luck. I mean, he proved that he can get you 100, 120 yards a game with that offensive line. I think with that offensive line, a premium running back, wasting money on a premium running back like LaDainian or LeVar Bell.
Levon Ball.
LeVon
Bell.
Whatever.
We both screwed that one up.
LeVar Ball. It's LeVar Ball, Levon Bell. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think spending money on a premium running back is a good investment for the Colts. So, but I think that their team is probably pretty solid and probably will be contending for the division or their division championship in the AFC South next year. Now let's go to the Texans. Stay in that division. Texans, I don't know.
I don't think they make the playoffs. I think they have a huge problem. The run game's not that good. Deshaun Watson, I think, is a very good quarterback, but that offensive line is terrible. We said the Colts need 1 offensive lineman. The Texans need 4 or 5 offensive linemen. I think the Titans are really well coached. I think they'll make some moves to possibly be there. But when I'm looking at it, I mean, I don't think the Texans make the playoffs next year. I think it's one.
Well, I think they're going to be a victim. I mean, they're going to be a victim of this. Is that the Colts are rising. Tennessee is, like I said, very solidly coached, and they're not a bad football team. I mean, they're 1 or 2 players away. I'm sure they've got some cap money too. They're very well coached. And really, if you think about Jacksonville's 1 quarterback away from being back where they were. I think. I don't know how many people they've lost or how that team's fallen apart, but if they can find themselves, say get a Foles or even a Wentz, if they can pick up one of those 2 quarterbacks, because you got to figure out what Philadelphia's going to do, then I think all of a sudden Jacksonville gets right back in the fold real quick, and then that becomes a pretty tough division again, considering they have to play each other twice all season long. So, but I think the Texans are one of the teams that are in jeopardy.
I think as long as Doug Moron is the head coach there, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Go ahead. Do you want to move on?
Yeah,
I meant Marone, not Moron.
Okay, I know. I know what you meant. I just ignore some of your
play on words.
We're trying to get sponsors. Calling coaches odd names is not going to help us get sponsors.
I didn't call him an odd name. I called him
Moron's not an odd name.
But it's not sexist or racist, so we're good. Go ahead.
I didn't say. I said odd name. All right, what about the Chargers? Rivers is not getting any younger, and, he's feigning injury now. He dropped out of the Pro Bowl.
We'll talk about that in a minute. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with him. Who wants to go play in Orlando? If it's in Hawaii, it's a free trip, maybe.
I know. But he's 17 years in the league. I mean, was this their year to try and make a big move? I mean, or do you think the Chargers can pull off again what they did this year, or was this their peak year, and then all of a sudden now they start declining?
I don't think
they're in turmoil out here because
I don't think so.
They don't know where they're playing. LA's not accepting this football team. They can't fill a 34,000-seat stadium on home games, barely. It's StubHub Center. It's a soccer field. They can't fill it. This is just a kind of a messed up situation out here with them, and I don't know how much demoralization is going to fit into this program. What's your thoughts?
I think they're fine. I think they've got a good coach in Anthony Lynn. I think Rivers has got another year or 2 left in him. The thing people forget is this. Antonio Gates came back because Hunter Henry was hurt. They needed to fill that in. It looks like Henry will come into next year 100%. They've got an excellent defense. They've got what I think will be the defensive rookie of the year in Derwin James. And it's no shot at Darius Leonard because I think Leonard is an absolute stud. But Derwin James is a stud. They got Bosa. They're good up front. They got good linebackers. I think this team that is safe. I think the team that's not safe here, Steve, is the Baltimore Ravens because
that's my next team. Yeah,
I don't think that we are ever going to see Lamar Jackson be a big-time quarterback, and you can only do what it was like the Miami Dolphins the year they made the playoffs with the Wildcat, where they won a bunch of games at the end of the season because nobody could adjust. People know how to beat them now. I mean, they just do. There's not a whole lot to beating Lamar Jackson unless he learns to throw the ball better and to be more accurate, and I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the Ravens are a team that will miss the playoffs because when you look at it, I think the Steelers are in trouble, but you get the Browns are an up-and-coming team. The Bengals actually finally fired Marvin Lewis and completely fired the entire coaching staff. So if they make a good hire here, which who knows if they will because it's the Bengals, this is still a team that offensively has A.J. Green, Joe Mixon, Gio Bernard, Tyler Boyd, Andy Dalton. On defense, you still got Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap. They need to add offensive linemen and linebackers. I think they'll be better than the Ravens. And I really, from looking at it right now, it would not surprise me if the Browns win this division. But I think the Ravens are an 8-8, 7-9 or worse next year. And I think John Harbaugh may get fired. I think John Harbaugh will be gone within the next 2 years because he's put all of his faith in Lamar Jackson.
Now, you think it was him or the ownership put the faith in him?
It's him. It's him because if
him?
He didn't have faith in him, he'd have put Joe Flacco in that game. I mean, so that tells me either that or they told him he had to keep his job. But either way, he's riding. He's putting his livelihood on Lamar Jackson. And in the end, I don't think that's going to work out very well for him.
Right. And I would agree with you. I think the Ravens are definitely a fringe team. They're going to have things happen, I think, for them to get back in the playoffs again next year. They get division again, like you said, because of Cleveland. Did Hugh Jackson?
It's not that the division is good.
Fired too?
It's not that the division. Yeah, everybody got fired pretty much.
Even Hugh
it's
Jackson.
Not that
wow.
the division. I think it's more that the division is not that good. They're not that good. Who knows? Maybe they can get in, but it won't be because of that.
Yeah. All right. What about the Seahawks?
Seahawks.
I mean, all their hopes rest pretty much on Russell Wilson. And can one player carry a team as long as Russell Wilson is carrying that football team?
They've got running backs. They're going to have a good draft. I still don't think they're a really well-coached team. I don't think Pete Carroll's a bad coach, but I don't think their coordinators are very good. And the thing that sticks out to me is this. The Rams are still going to be good. They're probably going to bring most of that team back. But the 49ers are a team that could really come back. They're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo back. They got a stud at tight end that they found this year. They got an excellent running back. They're only going to get better. And because the Niners are going to get better, I think it's going to take a win or two away from the Seahawks. So I think the Seahawks miss the playoffs next year.
Didn't I read something where Antonio Brown wants to go to San Francisco?
Yeah, but I don't care about that. It's just the 49ers have a better roster than the Seahawks. My only question is John Lynch going to make the right moves? Because I don't think John Lynch has drafted really well over the last couple of years.
Okay. Cowboys?
Cowboys missed the playoffs. I mean, Jason Garrett is not very good. And the fact that Jerry Jones said 5 other teams would have hired him, Jerry Jones is obviously they've legalized weed or crack or something in Texas. Because the only reason anybody would have hired him if he was free is because he's a likable guy. Everybody likes him. He's the guy that you let babysit your kids. But he's not the guy I don't think you want coaching your NFL football team. And when I look at this team, Jason Garrett's a former quarterback. Dak Prescott, to me, has not progressed over the last 3 years. He may have regressed even, or he's stayed about the same. But Jason Garrett has got to be able to develop this guy if he ever wants to win a Super Bowl. And I think this, as long as Jason Garrett is the head coach and Jerry Jones is running the show, the Dallas Cowboys are no threat to win a Super Bowl. And when I look at this also, the Eagles, I'm not real sure about them yet, but the Giants,
let's finish the Cowboys.
The Giants are the team that I think will make a couple moves in the offseason and win that division next year.
Well, see, and I think you're right. I think the only fact that I give any hope to the Cowboys really is the fact that as it sits right now, that division is very weak. As it sits right now. Now, I agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot of movement going on off season. I mean, you know, Alex Smith's going to come back. That'll strengthen up the Redskins. You know, if Adrian Peterson can have another solid year like he did, that helps them. I don't know what else they need. I'm sure you do. The Giants really. And I'm not unsold on Eli Manning. I think that team has bigger problems than Eli Manning. But if they can resolve those, they're not far away either. So
they're a couple offensive linemen and a couple defensive players away from being a contender.
Right, and then also that division, which is kind of I'll call it a putz division, and I just use it for lack of just a descriptor, because I think the teams are not very strong. Dallas kind of backed their way into that by everybody else failing more than them dominating. And I think if the other team gets stronger, Dallas becomes weaker real quick, because Dallas is probably going to be egotistical enough to not make a lot of moves in the offseason. They're probably going to think they're fine and stay status quo knowing Jerry Jones. That's why they're not getting rid of Garrett. That's why I think you won't see them add a lot of players. They'll bring some guys onto the draft, and he may get one big name. Jones is the kind of owner that'll go for a big name. He wants big name players on his team.
Yeah.
So I think he'll spend his money on another. I could see Le'Veon Bell. Well, no, they've got Ezekiel Elliott. That would be super. I could,
Well, we'll put it like this: Amari
Cooper, so they don't need
a couple
Antonio
years
Brown.
From now. They do need Antonio Brown, because all they got are Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper is not a big-time number one receiver. I mean, he can make big plays, but he's not consistent doing that. We didn't see him do that the last few games of the season.
Right. He fell off, definitely.
Yeah. So, in the end, the Raiders get the best of this deal. Of course, the Raiders will probably screw it up by drafting somebody they shouldn't draft. But when I look at it, I mean, I don't have any trust in the Dallas Cowboys front office. I mean, they've signed some guys that helped them, but they were guys that were kind of no-brainers. They've also signed guys like Greg Hardy, who was a questionable character, to say the least. So I just don't believe in the track record to keep this team continuing.
All right, I agree with you on that one. All right, let's talk about the Eagles. This is a team that's got a quarterback problem. I don't care what you want to tell me. Everybody can tell me they have a quarterback dilemma, and it's going to divide that team. And I don't know which way to go.
I don't think it divides the team, because I think they've always said that Carson Wentz is a starting quarterback if he is healthy.
But is he the best quarterback of the two?
It doesn't matter, because that's what they think. Now, when you look at this, I think Doug Peterson's one of the best coaches in football. I think he proved that in the Super Bowl last year. He took some chances. Not many people would, and actually beat the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. I think Carson Wentz is a very good quarterback. I think they've got very good talent around him. I think that they will make the playoffs next year as a wild card. So I don't think they're one of the teams that falls on this list. But I will say this. I cannot, in my head, imagine Carson Wentz being a good enough quarterback to make the plays in big situations to get the Eagles to the Super Bowl. The other problem is this. They're not going to have a backup probably to step in next year that can bail them out when Carson Wentz, hurts his pinky or whatever, because
which he does every year.
Hurt. Yeah. So the only way they can save this is if they decide to take the option on Nick Foles' contract. And the option on Nick Foles' contract is $20 million. You can't afford to do that. You can't have a $20 million backup quarterback. So what I think they do is, maybe they re-sign him, and then they trade him, try to get something out of him. I think it's a team that they could use a big-time running back. They could definitely use some DBs. They could take care of that, hopefully, in the draft for them. I think the Eagles will be back in the playoffs, but I don't think they're as big a threat to make a Super Bowl run as they are when they have Nick Foles.
Okay, now that begs, and I agree with you entirely. But they're gonna have to make a commitment to one of the two quarterbacks and stay with it.
They did.
They already have. Right? They have. You're right. It's just Wentz. The problem is Wentz can't commit to staying healthy all season long. That's the problem. So when you have the luxury of having Nick Foles around for $5, $6, $7 million, then it's worth every penny of it. But when you're right, his option is going to be $20 million, you can't have $40 million of your salary cap wrapped up in two quarterbacks. That's not going to fly. Because if Wentz stays healthy, then you've wasted $20 million on Foles, and Foles isn't going to be happy. But you made an interesting comment there. You thought the Eagles would get in as a wild card. You think the Cowboys aren't going to make the playoffs. Who's going to win the Eastern Division?
I told you. I think the Giants will shore up the offensive line and win the division. You got a team that's got Shepard. They've got Saquon Barkley. They've got Odell Beckham Jr., and I am not one of these people that think that Eli Manning's done. I think he's got one last run in him, and I think that's going to come next year.
Okay. Well, I buy that. I like Eli Manning. I've always liked the Giants. I like to see that happen. I like to see them one time kind of waltz their way into the playoffs instead of the last times they made it. They scraped their way in as a wild card at the very end of the season. This year they fell short. They got too far in the hole, and they finally started winning some games, but they were so far down it was not doable.
Well, I think the other thing is this. When you look at the offensive line, Will Hernandez, I think, was a good pick in the second round. They filled in a couple spots there. They fill in one or two more. You got to remember, this team is a team that 2-3 years ago was in the playoffs, and Eli Manning wasn't playing poorly, and they had one of the best defenses in football. Some of that defense is still left over. They need a couple parts here, a couple parts there. I think they get it, and I think they make the playoffs.
All right. We're going to get some more obvious teams now, but maybe not as obvious as you think. Let's talk about the Bears. Now, the Bears, their whole season was predicated on being a great defensive team. They've lost their defensive coordinator, and they brought Chuck Pagano in, who I know you're not a big fan of, and I'm not sure I'm a big fan of Chuck Pagano, having coached the Colts for so long and seeing how soft he was coaching that football team. Does this hurt the Bears? I mean, does this take them kind of out of contention a little bit, or are they still strong enough to withstand Chuck Pagano running their defense?
I think when you look at the Packers, Vikings, and Lions, the Bears are still in contention. But I think the Bears are set for a drop-off. Now, if it's enough to make them not win that division, I don't know. But that division, I think, may be the weakest in football next year. Because I think the Packers have coaching problems. They've got personnel problems. The Lions have coaching problems. They always have personnel problems. And then the Vikings have quarterback problems because the guy they overspent on is not that good, and he's never going to win them anything. So when I look at this would be a team that if they were in a decent division, I would say, yeah, they're going to miss the playoffs because I don't think Mitch Trubisky is a great quarterback. I don't think he's ever going to be a great quarterback.
You're high on him.
And when you look defensively, this team won because they was mean as hell. And to be a defensive coach, you have to be an aggressive coach. You have to be mean as hell. That is not Chuck Pagano. I think the Bears' defense will drop off significantly because of the mindset. Mm-hmm. And I know we've talked about this on other shows, whether it was an Indiana basketball show or anything, Survive and Advance, anything like that. But the team takes on the mindset of the coach. And if your defensive coordinator is not a guy that is real aggressive, that'll get you going, I mean, if you're an offensive coach, you don't want to be emotional. If you're a defensive coach, your players will feed off of your emotion. All right? So when you see great defensive coordinators, they're guys that are usually emotional. All right? And you get some guys like Wade Phillips that aren't. He's cerebral, but it works. But Chuck Pagano's not Wade Phillips because Wade Phillips is probably one of the 3 best defensive coordinators that ever lived. So you could take that out of the equation. So I think the Bears may make the playoffs, may win 9 or 10 games. I don't think they'll be near as good a team, and I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but I think they will be a playoff team.
Well, 2 things here. First off, your comment about taking on a persona of a coach. I know that better than anybody because we all had the same mindset of night. We were jerks on the court. We would just as soon kill you as look at you.
Yeah.
And that was our mentality. That was Knight's mentality. It's kill or be killed. And he was going to grind you and pound you, and we were going to grind and pound you. We were playing. So
well, you know what? I totally that agree. Was Vince Lombardi's mindset. That was Bill Belichick's mindset. All great coaches, that's the mindset 90% of the time. Right.
Now, but what I think what happens here with the Bears is, and this is the question I have for you, Pagano all of a sudden now is probably going to put a lot more pressure on Trubisky in the offense. Are they capable of making up for what they lose with Pagano?
No.
That defense?
I think the only way they can make it up is the fact that the other 3 teams aren't that good either. So I think they may be able to make the playoffs because of that. And I think that they are the best coach team in that division. Maybe not the best guy. I like Mike Zimmer too. But I think that division is going to come down to the Vikings and the Bears next year.
All right, let's go to some obvious teams. We're going to be short. Chiefs, back in, sure.
Probably because it's Andy Reid, and he's usually in there.
What do you think would happen to the Chiefs if Mahomes gets hurt?
Their backup quarterback would play.
And they probably all of a sudden would fall.
Well, how many teams
the
only team that doesn't fall when they lose their starting quarterback is the Eagles. If you look at it this year, what quarterbacks got hurt? Andy Dalton got hurt. The Bengals were, I think, 5-3 at the time, 4-3 at the time, and look what happened. They win one more game the rest of the year. That's every team.
Right.
You lose your starting quarterback, and you're screwed.
Okay. So Chiefs are solid. Rams, no problems there.
I don't know because I have not looked to see what they lose, and they've put a lot of money and a lot of players. They don't have much depth. I think the 49ers are a threat. The Seahawks are a threat, even though I said they would make it just because they've got Russell Wilson. I would assume that the Rams are safe, but there's very few teams here that I would just offhandedly say, yeah, they're safe.
Saints?
Probably
Again,
safe.
they're relying pretty heavily on Drew Brees.
But the thing is this. The Carolina Panthers have Cam Newton, who may not even play next year now. The Falcons have a lot of holes now. I think the Buccaneers are a team, and we'll have this conversation maybe tomorrow, teams that will make the playoffs that didn't make it this year. I think the Bucs could be a threat with Bruce Arians. I'd say the Saints are safe.
All right, and then we come down to the grand old masters.
They're always
the Patriots.
Safe. They're safe. As long as they don't retire, they're going to make the playoffs. And they're going to be in the conference championship game.
And that's been my mentality the whole time. That's why I continue to pick the Patriots. Just because I say, as long as you got Belichick and Brady, as long as they can get out and compete and play and coach, I still think they're the team to beat. And I still think the Patriots are going to end up in the Super Bowl. I just had this feeling they're going to find a way to figure Mahomes out and defend him. Belichick's just such a genius at that kind of stuff. You don't screw with Belichick in the playoffs. I mean, he loses. Sure, nobody's perfect, but you don't want to bet against him losing. You're gonna screw up. He's gonna lose occasionally, and Brady looked as sharp as he's looked all season last game. Yeah. And they're used to playing in the cold weather. It's not a big deal for them to go out to 12-degree weather in Kansas City and play. They play that crap all the time. New England's cold all winter long, and they play all their games outdoors. So weather's not going to be a factor for either team, I don't think, because Kansas City catches a lot of cold weather. Not as bad as New England does, but I don't think weather's going to be a factor because it's not supposed to be doing anything. Well, it is supposed to snow again, so we'll see. Okay, so you want to save tomorrow for the teams that we think that didn't make the playoffs this year. You want to save that till tomorrow?
Well, obviously.
All right,
okay. It wasn't on our agenda today. We've also got, should the NFL eliminate kickoffs in the Pro Bowl?
All right, well, let's go there. Let's go there then.
Which one do you want to go to? The NFL eliminating kickoffs?
Yeah, well, I got a couple more questions about that. So,
okay.
I mean, let's go. Should the NFL eliminate kickoffs, Mike? I have my opinions.
I think this. I think the rules have to be changed. And yeah,
why?
I have. Well, because number one, there's almost no chance to get an onside kick back now. Everything else,
well, they have to be changed.
No
okay, they'd be changed back to the old rule. Yeah, if they change it back to the old rules, then it's worthwhile. But the way they do it now, the only purpose of having, like you said, having an onside kick or having a kickoff is to be able to get the onside kick and get the ball back quickly on a kick.
Yeah,
if they've eliminated that,
if you want to eliminate the kickoffs, my thought is this. After a team scores a touchdown, maybe you give them the ball, or you give them the option of taking the ball 4th and 15 on their own 20. So let's say the Colts are losing to the Bengals, because they did this year, but they're losing to the Bengals 28-14. And the Colts score a touchdown. It's 28-20. They kick the extra point. 28-21, minute left. There's no kickoffs anymore, but the team that scores has the option every time to go for it to get the ball 4th and 15 on their own 20. So the Colts now get a 4th and 15 on their own 20. Andrew Luck comes on the field. Paul Brown Stadium's going wild. The 8,000 people showed up for the game.
Their own 20, like the red zone 20, right?
No, their own 20. So you're on your own 20. Why wouldn't you?
The Bengals just scored?
No, the Colts scored to make it 28-21. There's no kickoffs.
So they get the ball back. So it's make it, take it.
No, but the Colts had the option of getting the ball back 4th and 15 on their own 20. They got 80 yards to go to tie the game, but they could get the ball back.
Start the scenario over again. Who scores?
Oh, Jesus. This is like talking to a freaking 3-year-old.
I was watching Regis and Kathy Lee.
It's 28.
Who scores?
Wait, listen. Just pay attention. all right? Because right now you're starting to make Michael Strahan look talented. It's 28-14 Bengals, okay?
Right.
The Colts have the ball. They score a touchdown with a minute left to make it 28-21. Now, since there's no kickoffs, the Colts will have the option to either give the ball to the Bengals at the 35.
I see.
Or they can have 4th and 15 on their own 20. I think this gives you a chance to make the game more exciting. And how about something like this? If you had, who's the worst team in the NFL? The Arizona Cardinals. Let's say the Arizona Cardinals are playing the Los Angeles Rams, and they take and they go down and they throw a deep pass on the first play. Larry Fitzgerald catches it to go up 7-0, and then all of a sudden, Arizona's coach Cliff Kingsbury now says, "Hey, we want the ball 4th and 15 on our own 20. We don't want to kick it back to them yet. We want to take a chance because we know that they're a lot better than us." I just think that if you did that, it would make the game more exciting. Now, I don't like it personally. Personally, I think I love the onside kick. I'm the only person that does. I don't anymore because it's boring. But I think if you let onside kick, you let people clear them out, you do a little head banging, that's fine. The game's on the line. But I think this is the way the NFL has been designed and the way the rules have been changed and the way they want more scoring, this is an opportunity to bring even more excitement to the game because all of a sudden Andrew Luck's running on the field, down a touchdown, a minute left, 28-21. And the thing is this, nowadays, if your team's down 28-14 with a minute left, you know you ain't getting no onside kickback, so the game's over. But this other way, you got a chance still.
In other words, what you're telling me is you really are applying for and have talked to Oliver Luck and applying for either an administrative job or a coaching job at the XFL.
No, but that would be a
XFL move right there.
That is an awesome. You got to admit, though. You got to admit that rule would make you a little tingly inside.
Well, given the scenario, I mean, you have to look at. There's so many factors involved in that. How many timeouts does the team have left?
No, it isn't because
they've only got one timeout left.
If you've got 3 timeouts left, all right. You could either give the ball to the Bengals on the Bengals. Bengals get the ball on the 35. You try to use your timeouts to get the ball back. Or you could have the opportunity to put your best player on the field, put the ball in his hands, and have a chance to tie the game right then. And you still got to go 80 yards. So it's still a long shot.
Sure.
But there is a shot because you can't just eliminate kickoffs. I can give you the rule about that is the reason I hate that is my first coaching job was coaching junior high football in Ohio in the 90s. And the rule there was no kickoffs. So if we're playing a team and we're down 2 touchdowns and I've got 1 or 2 timeouts left and there's a minute left and I got the ball, I've lost the game no matter what I do because I don't have a chance to onside kick it. So I just think this would be a way to make the game more exciting.
Yeah, when I was in Indiana, we ran a 1,200-kid youth football league. We eliminated kickoffs entirely. You score, the other team gets the ball on the 30-yard line.
Yeah, and it's stupid because it eliminates the chance to win the game. And Lucas
but you also eliminate the chance of breaking a kid's arm or things like that. Now, pro football players, I have less sympathy for.
No,
kids.
Don't give me that. Little kids. How old were they?
Well, they ranged anywhere from, we started contact in 3rd grade up until 6th grade.
Because this is the thing. If you follow my world, we could do that with the extra points. And on top of that, we would just not have Pee-wee tackle football until the kids were in high school.
I say leave the kickoffs in. I think it's a tool because I watch.
No, this is boring, though. It's boring. Every kickoff is into the end zone. How many returns are there? Maybe 15% of kicks are returned even? It's a wasted play anymore. Let's interject a little bit of, excitement into the game.
There are times where if you're strategically thinking, you want to kick it in to make him run it out. And if you get your coverage team down there quick enough, you can stop him before he gets to the 35-yard line.
I've coached a lot of football games at a really high level, and I don't ever remember wanting to kick it off to the other team to return the ball. Because the other team's fastest guy is catching the ball. And I may have backups on the kickoff team because my starters are tired. I always want to kick the ball off through the end zone. And, if I don't, I'm worried because bad things can happen on special teams. And I think this way, I think it's you either do it the way you used to with the onside kick, or you switch it to this.
Right.
I think it makes the game more exciting if you switch it to this, and it makes the game more exciting if you just go back to the way onside kicks were. I don't remember. I would like to see a stat, but I don't remember seeing too many guys get hurt on onside kicks. In theory, people running down and wiping you out, you get hurt. But in actual play, I don't remember it. I remember a couple times I don't remember a massive injury there. It's not like it's the Pro Bowl.
No, and we'll get to that. No, my opinion is either revert it back to the way it was, so onside kicks become a viable option, or just eliminate it and give the other team the ball on the 25-yard line.
That is stupid. Absolutely stupid.
Okay, well, I'm stupid.
Yeah, you are, if you think that, because that eliminates the end of the game. I mean, if you're down 2 touchdowns and you only got 2 timeouts left and there's a minute and a half left, you don't even have a reason to score, Steve, because the game's over. There has to be some way for the miracle to happen. And we've seen miracles happen in NFL football games. And you've just erased a large percentage of those miracles. I mean, if you look at it, the New Orleans Saints and Indianapolis Colts, one of the gutsiest calls in NFL history was Sean Payton starting the second half of a 10-6 game out in the Super Bowl by onside kicking the ball. You just eliminated that, but you also explained why you don't want onside kicks, because it cost your team a Super Bowl.
But they were genius, because they kicked it right to Hank, no basket, and he was too busy looking at his playmate girlfriend or wife up in the stands and fumbled it. Otherwise, any other idiot receiving tight end up there would have caught the ball, and it would have turned that game around possibly. But if is the middle word in life. So, yeah, they kicked it to the right person. So we got out-coached on that.
Lucas Weiss is listening, and he agrees with me. He says that you are the miracle eraser. All right, what else you want to talk about before we get Bobby on?
Lucas. Oh, God. You see, Lucas got his tweet retweeted by the Prime Minister's chief deputy press secretary or something.
Yeah.
He's big time now. He's in with
Pierre
Trudeau.
With the size of
Jack
Canada,
Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau.
That is pretty much like
Trudeau, isn't it?
Getting retweeted by the mayor of Lawrenceburg, Indiana, I think. But go ahead.
Pretty close. Yeah,
I'm just kidding. We love Lucas. And, that January the 1st show, it was huge numbers.
I just hope that Lucas remembers you and I when he's like National Sports Writer of the Year. He remembers where he got to start.
You're 60 years old, and I'm just hoping you can remember me and Lucas 10 years from now.
Wow, that's a good point. Touche. Well played.
That was funny. I know Lucas is laughing on that one.
That
That was a good one. Go ahead.
Lucas, he's having tea with whatever Trudeau is up there. I can't do the good-looking stud, whatever his name is, something Trudeau.
Really? You definitely are a Californian now. All right. You want to talk about the Pro Bowl a little bit before we get to
Pro Bowl? Is the Pro Bowl an antiquated thing? It should never happen anymore? Or, what is the point of playing the Pro Bowl?
There is no point. It's stupid. It shouldn't be played. Most of these guys don't want to play. That's why guys like Phillip Rivers have imaginary injuries. And I will equate it to this. Tyler Eifert was supposed to be the next Rob Gronkowski a few years ago. He got hurt in the Pro Bowl and was not ready to start the next season. I don't know why the NFL, they go to such great length to protect their players, but yet they let them play in a meaningless game. This serves no purpose at all. What they should do is, just basically have you a skills competition. I remember back in the 90s or maybe the 80s, they had the quarterback challenge. I wouldn't mind watching that. Nobody gets hurt. It's all good fun. But what this game has turned into is just a bunch of pity-pat touch football anyways. I don't watch the Pro Bowl. I would rather watch...
I don't watch it at all.
I would rather watch second grade, Pee-wee football. And I don't think Pee-wee football should even be played because it's more violent. It's more violent than the Pro Bowl. Come on.
By the time the Pro Bowl comes on, there's some kind of NASCAR thing going on down at Daytona right about that time too. So I'll
tell you what. If I had the choice between watching a meaningless Pro Bowl or NASCAR,
you'd watch Pro Bowl. I know.
No, I wouldn't watch either one.
No problem. No, and what amazes me is I saw that Andrew Luck was just appointed to replace Phillip Rivers. Why in the hell would the Colts want to let Andrew Luck go play in the Pro Bowl?
Why would Andrew Luck want to go play in the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, why would he want to go, first off? And then why would they let him go after what they went through with his shoulder? And all it takes is one overzealous idiot defensive back that wants to get the MVP or wants to get his face on TV. The one hit, he goes down, and you lost your quarterback for the whole next season again, or you've lost him for the summer, and he's rehabbing all summer long again. I do not get a guy like Andrew Luck going to the Pro Bowl. He's making $26 million a year. They get paid some nominal fee to go play in it. They get a nice jersey, which you can go buy those jerseys on eBay if you want, if you really want one.
You can't buy an authentic game-worn jersey, though. Well, you probably
no, you can't. No,
but yeah, at
some point you probably can. Yeah, but you can go buy a nice, reasonable facsimile replica made in China and shipped over from China for about $39.
Oh yeah, is that where that's where you got your Andrew Luck jersey, isn't it?
No. I got mine from the NFL shop.
No, why would you do that when you could get it for $39?
Because they're the genuine real thing.
Because you have way too much money. All right, that's why people do that. Jeez.
No, I got them when I had a 30% off discount. They were only $149, and I got them for like $100. So they're stitched on.
There is not a jersey that has ever been made that I could pay $100 for, because I would just find that ignorant to buy a $100 piece of clothing.
Well,
at the trailer park. At the trailer park, you can go down the street and you can get any NFL player's jersey you want for like $19. And you can get a Pabst Blue Ribbon with it.
All right. So we both agree that the Pro Bowl needs to just go away.
Yes. Agreed.
And they're playing it this year in Orlando again, right?
I don't know. I don't even pay attention to it. So I
think it's in Orlando. They try and tie it to Disney World, so they hope people will go down to Orlando for the weekend and go to Disney World, and they'll stop by, and they'll probably hand you a free ticket to come to the Pro Bowl, because they're not going to fill out Gator Stadium or the Gator Bowl Stadium, whatever it is there.
Gator Stadium. I like it.
It used to be Gator. Well, they played the Gator Bowl there.
No, they didn't.
I don't know what the stadium was.
Not in Orlando, they didn't. They played the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida.
Well, they
played the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. You know why they did that, Steve? Because the stadium's called the Citrus Bowl.
Okay, well, that's it then. All right. Whatever. You knew what I meant.
I know, but I was having fun. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
that's all right. Have fun with me today. This is your day. I told you, this is your day to act like a genius, so I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, I don't ever act like a genius. I am a genius.
All right. Let me ask you one question that I'm going to throw you for right now. Two-part question.
All right.
Who is in the NFL right now? Two parts. One is of all time, and then what is currently. Who is the most important person in the NFL of all time, and then who is currently the most important person in the NFL?
Of all time, there's no doubt it's George Halas.
Okay.
I mean, George Halas saved the NFL. He was one of the original owners, also played in it at the same time he owned it. But he brought in the mid to late 1920s, he brought in Red Grange, who toured the country. They were playing a couple games a week, and it got the NFL more popular. But a guy like George Halas, the Art Rooneys, the Paul Browns, those guys are the most important guys ever. And it's why I don't understand why Vince Lombardi has the Super Bowl trophy named after him. It should be the Halas. I mean,
isn't there an award? Isn't there a Halas Award?
There is. For the NFC Championship, I think it's the Halas Award. Lamar Hunt
Award,
is and the thing is this. Basically, they named the Super Bowl at the time Vince Lombardi died. And that's why he got it, because George Halas, no matter what any Packer fan will want to tell you, George Halas was the reason the NFL became the NFL. Now, what was the second part of the question?
Who's the most important current person? Is it Jerry Jones?
No. The most.
You think about it,
no,
Jones. You think about the influence Jerry Jones wields on people. I mean, you say no off the top, but think about it. They had a solid contract with Reebok. Jones said, "I'm taking the Cowboys and go with Nike." A year later, the entire NFL's with Nike.
Yeah. So.
I mean, really think about it. Okay, so in your eyes, who is right now the most important person? Could be Belichick, could be Andrew Luck, could be Gerald Goff. could be Roger Goodell. Who's the most important person in the NFL right now?
The most important person right now.
Yeah. The one who changes the landscape of the NFL the most.
Now, if you want to say changing it for the worst, maybe it's Jerry
Well, no, just
Jones.
changing the landscape. Could be best or could be worst, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about not necessarily in a good way, I would say it may be Jerry Jones because he makes everybody richer. But I also think this.
Right.
I think Jerry Jones is also in a bad way. I think Jerry Jones does a lot of things that are stupid. He hurts it also. So I think this, with George Halas, all the influence is great. Or most of the influence is great. The influence that is held by Jerry Jones is not so great. It's more of a self-serving corporate interest that has a tendency to not look at the fans, to not care for the fans. And I think that's bad. And I think that's why the NFL has been on a steady decline. Because the NFL has forgotten about the fans, as a lot of professional leagues are. You see Major League Baseball's trying to get them back. The NBA's done good with fans. The NHL has been good with fans. The NFL is not. The NFL has become a big corporate shithole. And they're worried about making as much money as they possibly can. That's all they care about. They only do the right thing when it's demanded by the public. So when I look at this, probably the two most influential are Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones. I just don't think it's a very good influence.
No, but would it be fair to say the culture when George Halas was there wasn't as focused on money as it is? It was focused more on winning back then. It's my interpretation of it is when Halas
I think this.
those guys are back there. Rudy,
in the 1920s,
it was more focused on winning.
No, I think 1920s and 1930s they were more focused on surviving.
Right.
You know, when you get to the 50s, 60s, the owners wanted to win. But this was the thing. These owners, most of them, especially when you get 50s and 60s, the onus was on winning because they had other businesses that paid them a lot more money. Now these pro teams are all worth, $1 billion or more.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Irsay has no other vocation. His team's worth about $2.5 billion, and that's his income.
Yeah.
I mean, he draws a salary off that, and he takes his, cut off that team, and he has no other business that he runs. His dad had a construction business, but they trashed that when they came to Indianapolis, and his sole proprietary employment is being chief or owner and president of the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm sure it's that way in a lot of franchises now. Yeah. But I would agree with you. I really think that for good or for bad, I think Jerry Jones is probably even more important than Roger Goodell because Goodell still has to kowtow to the owners. They still can eliminate Goodell. They can't touch Jerry Jones because they won't touch him because as much as they despise Jerry Jones and you despise him and I don't, maybe not a big fan of his, he makes the league money. I mean, he has a knack.
It's really hard to get rid of evil until they die. So
but he makes the league money. I mean, since he took the Cowboys, the value of every franchise has gone through the roof. I mean, you're talking about guys that bought teams. Like you said, what did the Browns get the Bengals for?
I don't know. Actually, Paul Brown was a very small minority owner. John C. Sawyer was the first owner of the Bengals. They were an expansion team, and what the Brown family did was, so they would get control of this, is I think Mike Brown started off with like 10% of the team, and then as the years went on, he gradually bought out the smaller share owners until he owned the majority of the team, and then John Sawyer, I think, passed away, and then that's how he obtained the rest of the team. And that's how we got to the mess we are today. But
it's the same thing. Like I think that the Steinbrenner bought the Yankees for like $27 million.
I'm betting he didn't pay that much for him.
Yeah, and they're the second most valued franchise in all professional sports, behind the Cowboys.
Are they second behind the Cowboys?
Manchester United might be worth more than the Yankees, but they're the top three.
That's not a sport, so I don't even know what.
Well,
yeah,
but it is a franchise. It's a sporting franchise.
Jesus, that's like when Lucas used to come on and try to talk about the freaking World Cup.
As much as we don't like him, I think Jerry Jones is the most important and influential person in the NFL right now.
George
anyway, let's put that to bed.
Just so you know, bought the New York Yankees for $8.7 million from CBS in
there
the
you go.
early 70s. All right, guys, we are going to go ahead.
Wait, I got one more question. Wait, one more quick question for you.
I got people waiting, but all right, go ahead.
All right, well, he can wait. It's okay. He's got time. He's out in California. It's only 9:53 out here.
He'll
ask
survive. Better questions. Go ahead.
Kyler Murray, is he making a good move or not?
Well, yeah, he's going to get paid. I mean, if he goes to minor league baseball, he gets paid. But he uses this as leverage. He'll get paid. I don't know if he'll make an NFL quarterback or not. I think a lot of it has to depend on where he goes, which I think a lot of people miss, has a lot of determining factors on who turns out to be good and who's bad, because you need to go to the right situation. When I watch Kyler Murphy, got a cannon for an arm. He's got great feet. I'd take him before I would take Dwayne Haskins, and everybody loves Dwayne Haskins. But the thing is this, Kyler Murray can go to his second or third read. He reads progression. He's very good. And from what I hear, Kyler Murphy doesn't like the World Cup the way Lucas Weiss does, who is constantly, sending me message about it. And you know what, Lucas, 3.2 billion people tune into the World Cup worldwide. I don't care how many people in the United States did, Lucas, because this is the only country that matters. I'm sorry you're Canadian. I'm sorry you're Canadian, and you think that Americans have a superiority complex, but they do. And it's just because we're probably better than every other country, even though Donald Trump's our president. So,
is he having lunch with Trudeau? Ask him if he's having lunch with Trudeau.
If he's listening to the show, Steve, you just asked him. I won't have to ask him. So,
Lucas, are you having lunch with Trudeau anytime in the future? Can you get me an autograph?
It's Jack Trudeau. He's having lunch with Jack Trudeau, former Indianapolis Colts quarterback.
Colts quarterback.
Well, to me, I would rather have lunch with Jack Trudeau.
Who lives in Zionsville, Indiana, is a club champion at Wolf Run Golf Club, and a hell of a golfer.
All right, we are going to take a quick commercial break. We will be back with Bobby Sheridan from the Sheridan Report after a word from one of our shows.
Tune in to Game Day IQ for the smartest hour in sports. Test your knowledge of sports trivia on everything from football, basketball, and baseball to cricket, tennis, and hockey, to horse racing, auto racing, and soccer, and, of course, the Olympics. Every week, you'll learn tantalizing details of sports' most intriguing conundrums that you can stump your friends with.
Find out what sports figure needs a remedial trip to Coach Buck's bench. Settle in for story time with Uncle Bucky. See if this is the week that I go off on a Category 5 level rant. Learn whose performance on or off the playing surface deserves a special place on this week's pedestal. All that plus a variety of other features that all add up to the most cerebral hour in sports this week. Oh, and you'll have fun too. So raise your Game Day IQ by joining me, host Chris Cook and
Alan Buck, for an informative look at this week in sports right here at thegruelingtruth.net.
All right, guys, we're back with Survive in Advance. I'm Mike Goodpaster with Steve Risley. Bobby, you on the line?
I'm here. How are you, Mike?
All right, and Bobby, once again last night, I believe you made a little bit of money.
Hey, Bobby, I'm doing fine, too. Thanks for asking.
Hey.
Jerk.
Steve Risley, how are you?
I'm doing great. Are you wet?
Not yet. I drove home last night and drove through it a little bit, but now I'm home and I see that it's wet outside.
What the hell is the inland? What the hell is the Inland Empire? What is that? I hear that all the time. They talk about the Inland Empire. I live in the valley. So what is the Inland Empire?
Yeah. Well,
is that Ontario, Chino, that area?
Yeah. Chino, Ontario, Upland, Rancho Cucamonga, then on out to Riverside. I guess
you guys got all kind of flood warnings out there.
Sometimes, it's I'm born and raised here in Upland, California. That's where I went to high school.
Are those damn warning alerts on cable annoying as hell?
I don't see cable, so I think my brother has.
God, you can't turn them down. You can't turn the volume down on them at all. It's atrocious. you get a half inch of rain out here, and you think the city's going to come to an apocalyptic end.
It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Mike's bored.
Oh, I almost took.
Let Mike be bored for a while.
That was
Mike
riveting conversation between two Californians.
Hey, we're going through turmoil out here. We've got rain. This Southern California does not know what to do with rain. They get rain. It's like half of them go out and put shampoo in their hair and just stand out there. 'cause about a third of the population here
that saves
homeless
money
people
though,
anyway.
in the long run.
So,
all right, so Bobby, you had another good night
Yes.
last night. The Warriors definitely made you look smart.
Well, they can make a lot of people look smart. That's a great team over there, and they're obviously going to be, prohibitive favorites to win the championship again.
Lakers are going to get them.
No, they're not, Steve.
Not this year.
Not ever.
They will if they get rid of Luke Walton.
Not ever, Steve.
Let LeBron just go ahead and coach the team outright.
Hey, are you going to let Bobby talk, or did we just have him on so you could talk over him?
That's all right. That's a Hoosier. He can do anything.
I'm a Hoosier.
That's okay. You guys go ahead, because Price is Right.
He talked over me right there. So. I was talking, and he said, "Go ahead. I won't do it anymore."
Price is coming on. I'm going to watch Price is Right. You got a question for me? Ask me a question.
Shall nobody?
I know all about Kurt Flood. I know all about the 13th Amendment and all that crap and Supreme Court decision. So go ahead and talk about all that.
No, just
get
go
your
ahead.
face out and talk about it.
So, Bobby, what's
Steve,
your big play tonight?
I was just going to say for Steve to hang around, because we're going to be talking about some defensive statistics on this game. And, coming from Coach Knight, we know that defense is highly preached. So big game for tonight is right here, Steve, on the West Coast, right here, Staples Center. You can probably, what would it take you to drive there, 40 minutes or something? Or
no, it's about 10 miles
Staples
away. Take an
Center.
hour and a half, probably.
Oh, yeah, well, right. So anyways, we got the Utah Jazz tonight are coming to the Clippers. And it's an interesting game on a couple different levels. You've got two teams completely trending in opposite directions tonight. Utah is coming off a 4-game homestand. They went 4-0, 4-game winning streak, all at home. And this is a 1-game road trip to the Clippers. And sometimes that could be worrisome, but let's look at that a little bit. They come down here. It's a team that has aspirations. Second round of playoffs last year, they lost to Houston after beating OKC, bringing back their entire group back. So this is a team that's got aspirations, okay? 1-game road trip, business trip. Just beat Detroit at home. We know that. We had Detroit in a close game. 1-game trip, and they're back home for 4. And the next game is Cleveland Friday night. And then they've got Portland, somebody, and then Minnesota. And none of them back-to-back. So they're in a really good scheduling situation. There's no chance of a letdown tonight, so forget about that. Sometimes you have to look ahead and see what's coming afterwards and such. But they're doing their thing, and we're going to talk about why they're doing their thing in a second. And this is where I alluded to with the defense. And then you got the Clippers kind of going the other direction a little bit. They've lost 2 in a row at home, back-to-backers. Giving up 44 points to Griffin and then 46 to Davis of the Pelicans. Those were games they definitely were winning earlier in the season, those home games against that level of opponent. So you look a little deeper. Doc Rivers has reduced the minutes of his starting point guard, who's a rookie. I don't remember the name, Gilgeous Alexander, I think, 11th pick. He's reduced his minutes. They're not getting good production from the point guard, and his back is a second-year guy. And they've just been struggling. They've hit that point where they've got to figure it out. Well, tonight is not going to be an easy night to figure it out. You got a team coming in, and here comes the defense. Since December, I'm going to pull up numbers because I want to quote them right. They're the number 1 ranked defense in the entire league. They're 16th, Utah Jazz. Number 1 in defensive efficiency. If you take away blowout minutes, number 2 in the league on the whole season. Clippers and the defensive efficiency stat are 28th. So Utah's doing it with their defense. And they've put together a nice stretch. And so from a statistical aspect, from a scheduling aspect, this is a solid play tonight. And you look at the line, it opened up +2. It's already gone to +1, so you still can get Utah +1. It wouldn't surprise me if it went off Utah maybe favored a point or something in this game. So, like Utah a lot, it's a good spot for them, and they're catching the Clippers at the right time. So that it's a nice, some nice angles, some nice handicapping angles.
Well,
doesn't have all the backstory.
The one thing I saw on this, though, the Clippers also this year, they were 16-6 against the spread when a favorite of 7 points or less.
Well, I mean, that's overall stuff you can look at, but I don't tend to look at those kind of numbers as much. That's a good point you brought up, because it doesn't always give you what's here and now. You know, I mean, a lot of
yeah, but you noticed that Steve hasn't said anything where you said that's a good point. But go ahead.
Well, because I just bogarted the time for the last 2 minutes, but we're going to talk about defense, because Utah's got a guy in the middle, Steve. This is all right. We're getting into your area now. Rudy Gobert. Have you watched much of him?
Honest to God, Bobby, I don't watch the NBA. I have no use for the NBA whatsoever. I'm watching Price is Right now. We're trying to win a car here on Money the Money game. She's got to pick the first 2 numbers and the last 2 numbers. So I have no use for the NBA. I wouldn't bet the NBA my life Bennett, because on any given night, those idiots show up, they decide to play, they get paid whether they play or not. They don't care. Defense is not the most important thing in the NBA. It's nice to be number 1 defensive team, but that's like saying you're cream of the crap. So big deal. The NBA is more entertainment than basketball to me until you get to the playoffs. Then they start playing.
Right. Well, you know, true Coach Knight there. I mean, I think he made a comment that they asked him about.
That's why I never went to the NBA.
Right. Yeah. Well, that wasn't a good move there, Risley.
What?
Not to go to the NBA.
For Knight? Why? He couldn't coach. When you go to the NBA, you're not a
for
coach.
Knight.
Yeah, you're a babysitter.
Oh, he's not talking about himself. There was never a chance.
No, myself. I tried to get the NBA. I wanted some of that free money.
Jeez.
I told Mike Bradley to 12 man sit on the bench and draw the minimum salary of $180,000.
Risley was white and couldn't jump.
Yeah.
And back in, I will give him this, though, back in the early 80s, if he'd have been 7 feet tall, he'd have made an NBA roster, because remember, they used to have the last guy on each bench was a 7-foot goofy white guy. Steve, he was 7 foot.
Sven Nader.
Fits right into that. Sven Nader wasn't a terrible player.
Cool. But, no, you know, this Rudy Gobert is something else, the way he's playing defense.
Doesn't he have like 36 double-doubles this year, too?
Yeah, he's playing at all-star level now, and he's not going to be, you know, very far off from attaining that type of status. And if you watch the game tonight, just really pay attention to him and the great job he does. And it really allows them, because he mans the middle so well, Steve, it allows them to put pressure on the three-point line and really defend on the perimeter even more, you know, knowing that they got that guy back there.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure it does. I take your word for it.
Yes, and
matter of fact, you know, Bobby, the only time last year I went to this game because my teammate Mike Woodson was an assistant coach at that time, and we connected. And he said, "Hey, you want to come to a game?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I got Utah coming in. You want to go to that one?" Sure. Here's a couple of VIP tickets. My wife and I went to the game. Clippers got their butts handed to them by Utah, and the most unimpressed player I ever saw for what the hype he is was Gordon Hayward. I'm thinking, this guy is supposed to be a genuine superstar?
You saw him last year?
2 years ago. It was 2 years ago.
I was going to call
2 years ago. I'm sorry. Yes, 2 years ago. I'm like, it was the most unassuming, unimportant 20 points I'd ever seen a player score in the NBA game. You know, and he got us 20 points, but it's like, did he even play? And, you know,
yes.
But they blew the Clippers out. That's when the Clippers were really bad.
Right. They've improved, and
they've improved a lot.
Doc's done a good job, and they have.
I don't want to talk about the fact that Mike's not with the team anymore. I don't say that has anything to do with it.
Well, I mean, but no, they got a great owner. This Ballmer he really wants his team to win, and will do what it takes, you know, to help them try to win, and that's why they're in on a star next summer, and they got a new arena built.
Yeah, my opinion is the Clippers missed the boat. They missed their opportunity because when the Lakers were so down, the Clippers had an opportunity with Ballmer's money to build that team and dominate the Los Angeles market. And and really kind of get a foothold, because they're the bastard stepchild in this city. You know that as well as I do.
Oh, yes.
Basically, it's all you the same seat you can sit in the Clippers game and pay $500 for, you'll pay $5,000 for at a Lakers game. The exact same ticket.
Correct.
Yeah,
right.
And so, but the Lakers were down for so many years. Clippers, with Ballmer's money, he's got more money than God. Not quite as much as Jeff Bezos, but almost. And they did not build that franchise or retool that franchise, in my opinion, to where they had an opportunity to be the dominant team for 4 or 5 years and get a real loyal fan base and following. Now that LeBron's coming to town, the Lakers are making a move back up and getting into, trying to recreate that Showtime thing. And they're just going to be just a second. They might as well leave Los Angeles. I don't even know why they even stay here, truthfully. Because the Clippers don't sell out. The Clippers do not sell out. You can't get a Lakers ticket to save your butt. You can't walk into the Staples Center for a Lakers game for under $500 unless you've got season tickets.
They do have that new arena they're building, though, so they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. They're going to have their own separate arena then? The Clippers are going to have their own arena?
Yeah, they're going to have their own arena. Right. They're not going to share the Staples Center anymore. I don't know when the time frame is on that. Maybe 2020 or 21 or something, But, no, good game tonight, Mike, and it's just, it's just a classic handicapping spot. It's got 3 or 4 other things you want to see, and I just thought if the line came out anywhere from Utah getting a couple points to pick them, it's an automatic play. You don't even think about it. You just check it off. It's a play. If they were favored 3 or 3.5, 4, then you just lay off it. So that's the best game on the board right there. Hopefully,
all right, now, if anybody wants to get the rest of your picks, where do they go to find those?
Well, they go to theSheridanReport.com and also follow at Sheridan Report, because I'll put little things on there. We have a free play. I call it a Twitter site play because it's on the website too. That thing is 10-3 the last 13, I believe. Yesterday was the Sixers. We didn't talk about that, but that was on the internet, on the site and the Twitter yesterday. So, it was part of the sheet, part of the report. We did go 3-0, and I want to bring something up because I thought about it later, and this is what just made me think of it. The first day I was on, remember the Wisconsin game, and we talked about 3.5. Well, that was the opening line the night before. And I even mentioned this, that line went as high as 5.5. Me personally, I actually got 4.5 points when I made my bet. So that's why that was a win. If you recall, they lost by 4. So that was a win, even though we talked about the 3.5 number. But all of our guys got better than that. I mean, the worst was a 4. So, it's not really a loss. So tonight, the Utah game's already down to +1. Even though it says +2 on the sheet, but I printed that last night, So, anyways, you got to follow the numbers. I mean, the numbers.
So how this works? Because I don't gamble. When you bet, if I lock in at +2, do I lock in at that, or do I just play the line at game time?
No, you're locked in. Whatever you buy.
If I'd have bet yesterday at +2, even though the line goes to maybe even Utah by 1 or Clippers by 1, I get the +2.
You're getting a +2. Right.
I'm locked in wherever I bet.
What they'll do is they'll the overnight lines they'll give you action, but they'll limit action. They maybe have 2,000 be the most you could bet on that game until the morning, until they get a little bit more information, and then they'll open it up, and each place is different. Maybe even as 50,000. They might accept. So they limit the action. On the overnight.
So what you're saying is I should go ahead and put $20 on the Colts at 20-1 to win the Super Bowl right now.
The Super.
For next year. No, they had early lines for the Colts to win the Super Bowl teams for next year already. They're already putting the early lines out.
Yeah, I saw that, and if you're a futures bettor, that was to me one of the better picks you could have taken on there at 20-1, and I do think that'll go down to probably 15 or 14, and you may even get it at some point next year. It'll probably be around 10 or 8 if they have the season we think they're going to have.
Why is there is Belichick and Brady going to retire?
Well,
we don't know.
For another day, I think, but
because I'm pretty sure they're not. So you can bet the Colts all you want, but the Patriots will be in the Super Bowl.
I also noticed Chase Elliott was 20 to 1 to win the NASCAR.
Nobody cares. Do people
well,
bet,
I do.
Bobby? Do people
bet
too. NASCAR?
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about that. No, NASCAR is part of my early risers club. I name it early risers because most of these tennis tournaments are you wake up in the morning and you've already got finals all the way across the board from these different countries and stuff. That's why I call it early risers, But and I put the PGA on there and I put the NASCAR on there too, and those are fun bets. Those aren't bets you're going to make a lot of wager a lot of your capital on, but it's fun. You get some good odds, like Steve just said, 20 to 1 on Elliott to win the Cup this year.
Right now, it'll go down. It'll drop, but right now it's 20 to 1.
Right. But to answer your question, yeah, and what's gotten popular is they'll have odds to win a race or odds to win, let's say, the tournament that's starting in Desert Hills, La Quinta tomorrow. Mm-hmm. They'll have odds on who's going to win the tournament. Then there'll be rounds matchups. And NASCAR has done the same thing. They'll do matchups, Elliott versus Larson. And just who wins between that matchup. And so that a lot of the guys that really dive into the gambling on that, which I don't, they're really focused more on the matchups.
Is NASCAR one of the sports that's going to take up advantage of the sports betting laws rules? Are they going to get into that?
Well, I think they're going to because they're losing fan base. If you looked at a lot of the stadiums, not like me or from
TV's killing TV's killing stadium fan base in NASCAR big time.
Right. So
it's too easy to watch it on TV now. There's too much TV coverage.
Right, so much TV coverage, but you have your diehards, and there's nothing stronger than an auto race fan. You know that, Steve. I mean, those guys are diehards.
I know, I am. But to go to Indianapolis 500 to watch the race live, you see about a little more than half the track, and you end up sitting in the stands and watching it on the big screen, rather than now in Indianapolis they always blacked it out, but now here in LA it's like, man, I didn't realize the race was just kind of cool when I could see the whole cars all going all the way around the track. Because when you're at the race, and I went to the race for 30 years, you could never see the whole race. You saw them, we sat high in turn 1. You saw them coming down from the start, flying into turn 1. They exited turn 2. You lost them going down turn 3. You picked them back out coming out of turn 4. And you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And invariably, every damn wreck happened in turn 3. So anyway, my big what I'm waiting to see is your line on Sharapova and Wozniacki.
Oh, I don't handicap the female side of the tennis at all. I don't look at it.
You don't?
As a fan, I may see who's doing what, but I don't dive into the handicapping of it at all.
Well, that's the first big marquee matchup right now going on with two big brand names. I watched Wozniacki play last night. She won. I think 6-3, 6-2, and then.
Did you watch of that, Steve?
Pretty much a lot of it because it came on like at midnight. Because it's daylight over there once night here.
Australia. Right. They're over there. So
then I watched Sharapova beat whoever she beat 6-1, 6-1. So
I'm just questioning how much Steve watched of a women's tennis match.
I'd rather watch women than men. Trust me. Djokovic's no pretty boy to look at. Federer's getting old.
If the men were more attractive,
from that perspective,
you would watch men's tennis more, Steve?
No, if there was more Americans playing, if there was McEnroe and Connors playing, I'd watch men's tennis. But there's not. So you watch women's tennis.
Okay. I don't watch any tennis anymore.
Well,
I used to like it, but
yeah.
All right. Any of the lines you want to put out there before we go to the
there's
your on this day segment?
He did.
Yeah, there is one, Steve. I want to bring up, and there's no really big backstory to this, but we found a matchup today. I was looking to play this guy in this tournament, and I finally found the right spot, and it's today is a guy named Max Martyr. He's getting a plus 115, always an underdog we take on the money line. That's baseball and tennis. So your fans are really getting an angle as to how what I'm going to be giving them in the baseball season, because it's 2, 3, 4 dogs, and that's all we bet. And try to hit a good percentage of those and make really good money. But Max Martyr is plus 115, and he had 7 matches in the 2 prior tournaments leading into the Australian Open. I forget the names. One was from Auckland, and one was from Sydney, and one was, there was 3 or 4 going on. He participated each week in those. He got 7 matches in, and he was really ready to go. I knew he was ready to go, and it's not a threat to win the tournament. This is an early round. You get a W, move on, and make some money. I mean, these guys make a lot of money in these majors each round that they move up. And this is prestigious, and Max Martyr got a first-round victory. We weren't able to play him because he was favored over another journeyman-type player. But today he gets a spot where he faces a guy that he can beat. And that only – his name is Lucas Pouille, Pouille, so I think it's Pouille. Lucas only had 2 matches of preparation going into this Australian Open. And he did win his first round match. He overpowered a guy. But, in this spot, I think Martyr is ready. And so that's the pick for today. Just one pick. And yesterday we split again. So we won with Taylor Fritz. We talked about him really being ready for this moment. And he beat Gail Monfils, and he beat him in tiebreakers in the 3rd and 4th set. He beat him in 4 sets, 3-1. And he had to go to the tiebreakers because Monfils, he brought it. And Fritz, that was his biggest victory of his career. And the story is that these next-gen guys are all coming up with their biggest victories. This Tiafoe, Tiafoe, he just got his biggest victory. He beat one of the favorites, Anderson, who was the 5th seed in the whole tournament. He beat him yesterday. So these next-gen guys are getting it done. Shapovalov and Demonauer, and just look up those guys. I'm talking to your fans. Look up those guys, and that's the future of tennis right there when Djokovic and Nadal and those guys finally do go. But we got Max Martyr. That's the one pick for today.
All right, and Bobby, I know at the end of every Sheridan Report, there is a On This Day. Which one do you want to bring up and talk a little bit about today?
Mike, help me with this one. I'm a baseball guy, and Curt Flood, I saw that name on there, and I pulled it out to put on the report. Hopefully we can talk a couple of minutes on this. But going way back, it's 1970. His actions kind of paved the way for free agency. Am I right?
Yeah, actually, his actions were in 1969. He was traded that winter to the Philadelphia Phillies. He didn't want to report to the Phillies, and basically he tried to explore his own options. Felt like a slave tied to a contract, he said, that it expired. But the reserve clause in a Major League Baseball contract, which was standard in all sports contracts at the time, stated upon the expiration of a player's contract that he had 2 choices. One of those choices was to negotiate a contract for the same team. Number 2 was to ask to be released or traded. The Phillies did not wish to trade or release Flood. Flood wrote a letter to Bowie Kuhn asking to grant him his release. Of course, Kuhn said no. Flood then sued Kuhn for his freedom. Flood played 1971. Never played again, though. And in 1972, the case made it all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of baseball and the commissioner. The court sided with the league's antitrust exemption in a 5-3 vote. Flood was basically destroyed by that. He was financially devastated. The rest of his life, he had a hard time making any money. I think he moved to a trailer park in Dillsboro, Indiana. I'm just kidding. But on top of that, Flood, of course, didn't get his own contractual freedom, but he did pave the way for many others in 1975. I think it was Andy Messerschmidt and Dave McNally who played without a contract for 1 year. Then they were declared free agents, and the era basically began there. And then a little farther along, in 1998, President Bill Clinton and Congress passed the Curt Flood Act of 1998. its purpose was to state that the Major League Baseball players are covered under the antitrust lawsuits. So, yeah, actually, Curt Flood didn't do a lot just for baseball. He did it for all sports.
Yeah, that's really neat. I mean, that's a good backstory right there.
But you know, Bobby, here's the thing. You see what I'm up against every day? You see what I'm up against? That man reads Wikipedia better than anybody I know.
I'm not on Wikipedia, Steve.
Well, you're on a site very similar to Wikipedia because I got up at 6 o'clock this morning and researched all that after you called me and woke me up.
I didn't research it today.
Well, you couldn't have possibly known all that off the top of your head.
Okay.
Because what basis of foundation did he go to the Supreme Court on? What was his basis of taking his lawsuit to the Supreme Court?
I don't know, Steve. Go ahead.
The 13th Amendment.
Steve's upset because he found out something today. And
he tried to use the 13th Amendment, which is slavery and involuntary servitude, which is the 13th Amendment.
I believe I
and
didn't say the amendment, but I said that it was about slavery.
But there was critical effect. That's how he got to the Supreme Court, where he challenged the 13th Amendment.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But,
that's how he got to the Supreme Court.
Paved the way. Yeah.
Well, he paved the way for Reggie Jackson, what I think became the first $1 million contract player. I think at that time that he was like Mike ascertained. I didn't realize he played for Baltimore for 1 year after he left Oakland. But then he leaves Oakland, goes to Baltimore, I guess, for a year, as Mike pointed out. We talked about that this morning. They ends up going to the Yankees, and Steinbrenner gives him the first, what I believe to be the first $1 million contract. And I know it's not the first $1 million year. Mike pointed out that Winfield probably got that. But that Reggie got the first signed contract.
Dave Winfield, I think, got it in 1981. I think Nolan Ryan was the first. I think in 1980 when he went from the Angels to the Astros. Yeah, I think he got like a 3 or 4 year, $3 or $4 million contract. So that was probably the major salary milestone. And really, free agency didn't really blow up until you got late 70s, early 80s, into the mid 80s even.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then player agents started figuring it out, how they could hold out and do it. Yeah.
Right. And how many strikes have we gone through till now? And look where you've got now. You've got Harper and Machado still not signed, and sort of baseball's really been blamed the last 2 off seasons for lack of movement, lack of signing. These GMs are getting too smart. The teams are getting too smart to strangle themselves with these huge contracts.
Well, the question is, are they colluding?
Well, that is the question. Yes, that is the question, and I don't know the answer. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know the answer to that. But that is what's being brought up, but you can't blame these guys. I mean, you get strangled with these big contracts, and that limits what you can do. And the Angels just came off of the Josh Hamilton thing, and now they've got the Pujols thing. And I love Pujols, and he's a really good teammate and a good person, and he's still, has done some neat things for them his 5 years he's been there. But I mean, they've got 4 more to go on that huge deal, and he's not the player anymore that they got from St. Louis. So it's just tough. The thing is, though, is these 2 guys that are out there now, they're in their prime. So,
well, see, the other interesting thing about this that I do know, because I interviewed Jerry Royce, the old Los Angeles Dodger, the other day, and I'm not on Wikipedia, Steve, but do you know how many times from the time the Curt Flood case started in 1970 until 1995, do you know how many baseball strikes and lockouts there were?
How many?
8. I didn't realize that, but there was 1972, there was a Major League Baseball strike, which canceled 86 games. I didn't remember that. 1973, there was a lockout. No games were canceled. 1976, lockout, no canceled games. 1980, there was actually a strike with nothing canceled. And then, of course, 1981, there were 713 games canceled. And then if you remember in 1985, they were like a day away from striking again. Then you had a lockout in 90, and then, of course, you had the ill-fated last strike of 1994 and 95. And the one thing that stands out with this compared to the NFL is the fact that, Major League Baseball, the players won in this. Marvin Miller negotiated the pants off of everybody in Major League Baseball, and the players ended up getting what they want, and that's why players, have guaranteed contracts for the entirety of their career. The NFL couldn't pull that off because the NFL never had a unified union that was actually working for the players. They had a unified union, but they were unified with the owners in a lot of cases. When you look back at it with the Gene Upshaws and guys like that, who basically had their own self-interest or held their own self-interest more dear to them than the self-interest of the players that were currently playing at that time. Marvin Miller should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame because of this.
Yeah, he should. And let's bring it relevant to today's topics. Kyler Murray, I read an article where Deion Sanders said, "Don't blink, go play baseball." Because of this, he could play a long time and make a lot of money over years and years versus who knows, what'll happen when he's quarterbacking somebody.
So what I take is this. Kyler Murray is 22 years old?
Right.
All right, if Kyler Murray gets drafted in the first round by an NFL team, he's going to forfeit $4.6 million of a baseball bonus. But if the Cardinals with Cliff Kingsbury, who he is friends with, decide to make him the number one pick in the draft, he's going to make far more than that. And if he is the first player in the draft and he makes far more than that, and he's a bust 2 years from now, he's 24, 25 years old, he could still go back and play baseball. And I'll tell you, I think from watching him baseball-wise, looking at his stats, what he's done, I think baseball drafted him more on what they perceive his upside is more than what he can actually do on a baseball field.
Right. They saw his skills, his tools.
They saw the speed, they saw the arm, and it's kind of like a college team that will look at a kid that's in high school and he's 6'7", weighs 325, can't get out of his own way, he's terrible, and then you wonder why'd they give that kid a scholarship? Because they're going to bring him in, they're going to redshirt him for a year, they're going to put him with a strength and conditioning coach, with a speed and agility guy, and they're going to try to turn him into that. Because if you've got a 6'3" offensive tackle that weighs 280 pounds, no matter what you do with him, you can't turn him into 6'7", 325 pounds.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, it's interesting stuff. Mike, I know you're ready to wrap it up. Do you have time? Can I ask Steve a question?
Sure.
We don't have to talk long on it, but
if you're asking Steve a question, it's going to take a while.
All right.
Also, by the way, this breaking from Lucas Weiss, Jalen Hurts has just transferred to Oklahoma.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
And Notre Dame's quarterback just went to UCF.
I did see that one. Yeah.
Brandon Wimbush.
Yeah. Which was transferred to UCF, yeah.
That makes me think that UCF maybe doesn't think that McKenzie Milton is going to be ready by next season.
There you go.
Because McKenzie Milton is a lot better than Brandon Wimbush. But go ahead.
Quick one, Steve. On my report tonight, I have a college basketball selection. It's the Iowa State-Texas Tech game. And, I really like Coach Beard at Texas Tech, and, he's a Knight guy. He was on his staff when he went there. And Texas Tech uses a slogan, 4-1. And was Coach Knight using that at your time there in the late 70s, early 80s? Was that one that he would talk to you guys about, 4-1?
The 4 passes to 1 shot?
No. The mental is to the physical as 4-1. Did he talk about that one, or did he come up with that a little later?
I'm trying to think back on that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it was ever implied like that. Okay. We just kind of knew it was more mental. That we just because there was so much physical with Bob Knight. I mean, practices were a bitch every day. There was no let off of practices at all. So there was a tremendous amount of physical. And it's almost, I'd have to give this some thought if I really want to dive into it. But off the top of my head, I'd say he developed the mental by working on the physical. He made you mentally tough by physically draining you.
I got you. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we literally practiced starting at the beginning of the season. We practiced 3.5 hours a day, and I mean it was brutal practice. The only break we got was 5 minutes to shoot free throws, and then we went from one drill to the next drill, one drill to the next drill, one drill to the next drill, and we only scrimmaged literally in the beginning of the season. We never scrimmaged more than 20, 25 minutes a day. The rest of it was all drills, lockout drills.
Yeah, and I read
post denial drills, take away passing lane drills, positioning drills, guards at one end, big men at the other end, transition drills. And then we come together for about the last 20 minutes. They'd be controlled scrimmages. They wouldn't even be, let's just go play basketball. We probably didn't start doing that really, but about just running down the court and playing until about a week before the season started, where we just kind of had free form where we could go play. It was all, so my interpretation off the top of my head is that he developed the mental by emphasizing the physical.
Okay. Well, Coach Beard, brought his 4-to-1 slogan. He kept it with his program once he took it over, and that was kind of his tie back in tonight. And I guess Knight would really preach that at that time, which is 2002.
Well, I mean,
that's like 78 years after Risley played for him. So
yeah, but that his ultimate goal. He understood that the game was a mental game.
Right.
He developed he developed the mental skills by using the physicality.
Yeah, it's concentration.
Right. Basically,
everything is concentration. That's why.
Right. Yes.
A well-coached basketball team, and I'll ask you this, Steve.
Right.
To me, a well-coached basketball team, when you ask why they can't shoot free throws, a well-coached basketball team shoots free throws when they're tired.
Right. Yeah. We never shot free throws till the second half of practice.
Yeah.
We never shot free throws the first half of practice. We weren't tired. It was no big deal.
Yeah.
Anybody
can make them when they're not tired.
Right. He wore your ass out. Then he said, now let's get on the free throw line. And, he'd put somebody up there and he'd say, okay, Risley, if you don't make these 2 free throws, everybody runs, or sprinters for the next 5 minutes. So that he'd rotate to every player. Sometimes they get up and you got to make 2 free throws. And this was the second half of practice. And, you're sweating, you're hot, you're tired, you're sore because you've been banging like hell. You've been scratching and clawing on the court, and everything hurts. Your feet hurt because they didn't have the quality of shoes back then that we have now. And you've got to make these 2 free throws, and the whole team's counting on you. And you didn't want to let anybody down, and you want to be let down. And that's how he did it. I mean, but it was all based on physicality to develop the mentality. But it was definitely, I mean, he knew it was a mental. That's why that was the method to his madness.
Right, that was the whole point, right?
Yeah, the whole point was to get you mentally strong so that you didn't falter in clutch situations, even though you were dead tired. I mean, I look back. I think I got asked a question kind of similar this one time, and I don't know that I ever remember being on a court thinking I was tired. I don't ever remember ever raising my hand asking to be taken out of a game. And there's several games in my career I played the entire 40 minutes of a game.
At IU?
And at IU, believe it or not.
What game was this?
I don't know. I mean, I don't remember off the hand, but I know there was more than one time where I did not come out of the game.
Okay.
And there were several players back then that did that. If I was guarding somebody or, and it just like I wasn't screwing up, so he never thought to take me out. But I never remember ever raising my hand. I get so disgusted when a player runs down a court at 20 years old, raises his hand like he needs a breather. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that drives me nuts. I coach my son's high school team. It'll have somebody, Coach, I can't be on special teams because
I need a break.
I'm tired.
Or I see an NFL running back run the ball 3 times in a row, and he puts his hand up like, take me out. You're a freaking $20 million a year running back. You're playing football. You're 28 years old. Play the game. Well, that's the lack of mental toughness right there. You don't play through it.
I mean,
but I don't ever remember.
The whole key.
I don't ever remember thinking on a court when I was in the middle of a game, man, I'm tired. I don't ever remember that.
Well, all I know is this.
That's
the 2 most important things, really the 3 most important things to winning, I think, are communication, character,
right.
Character, and concentration. That's it.
Yep.
If you have those 3 things, you will be successful. If you are missing even one of those things, you're done. I mean, number 1, if you don't communicate, you don't have any chance. The concentration thing, you got no chance. I mean, it's just, if you can't do those three things for that 40-minute time period or the 60-minute time period, whatever sport you're playing, you're not going to be successful, especially maybe today you can be, because I don't think there are that many people with the ability to have all three of those things at the same time anymore.
I agree. But, Mike, you and I on our basketball show, IU basketball show, we've harped on that from day one. The current edition of Indiana basketball tremendously lacks communication. They don't communicate at all.
Most teams I see lack communication. Now, I'll give you this. Texas Tech doesn't. I watched them the other night. Texas Tech communicates. Texas Tech is a team that can win a national championship. I think they proved that when they went to Madison Square Garden and played Duke pretty much even the last 2 minutes of the game. I think it's a really well-coached team, and I think defensively they're outstanding. And you know what? Duke showed the other night that sometimes their shot's not on. And you combine that with a team like Texas Tech that can play defense, Texas Tech could go a long way this year.
Yeah, and I put a lot of that, too, on the shot clock. I think the shot clock, because you can now ride out the shot clock and don't have to be able to communicate.
You know what? I hate the shot clock. I think the shot clock should be outlawed. It's like Indiana high school basketball. Yeah. We did the little poll on whether it should be class basketball in Indiana or if it should go back to the way it was. And you got people, well, the biggest deal is we need a shot clock. I don't think you need a shot clock.
No, that's a word. No.
Yeah, I mean,
it eliminates the need for communication.
How about
all you got to do is just ride it out for 40 seconds.
Today, if you remember 1983, Tony Yates coached the Cincinnati Bearcats. They played the Kentucky Wildcats at Riverfront Coliseum. I think it was like November or December of '83. That Kentucky team ended up being a Final Four team. Tony Yates was a joke as a coach. I think that team went like 5-23 for UC. UC was down 11-7 at the half because they stalled the game. They played four corners. They ended up losing 24-11. But my point is this. I still was watching in the second half because it was a 4-point game at halftime. If they would have came out and just run and gunned, what happens? I mean, they probably lose the game. And they lose the game by 70 points instead of by 13. So I think you take some strategy out. I mean, you remember Dean Smith would go to the four corners. If he got up 6 points and there was 18 minutes left, he was going to go four corners. Al McGuire and Marquette did a little bit. But, yeah, and the thing is, it's strategy because 77 in that championship game, if I remember right, Carolina went four corners like mid to late first half when they were up a couple points. And Al McGuire sat back and waited on them. He didn't attack them. The game was being coached on both ends. Other people may find it boring, but I find a battle of wits more intriguing than anything else. And I think that's been eliminated because they speed the game up so much that it's hard to really coach it.
That's why I said when you asked 4-1, I thought, okay, because we always had a deal. We ran motion offense, and we got into our stall situation was run motion. Do not even, unless you have a bunny layup, do not even look to the basket for four passes. And, you just run the motion offense, wear them down. And we spent so much time on fundamentals and ball handling and screening and passing that we knew we weren't going to make mistakes on our offense. But we could run our motion for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. And, his motion was Phil Ford's four corners or D. Smith's four corners. We just ran the motion, and eventually they'd break down, and you'd end up with a bunny. 2 minutes into it, you're stalling for 2 minutes, and then you just go, okay, I got a wide open layup. And they're looking at you like, what the hell just happened to me?
It was also what Pete Carroll did with Princeton when they upset, or almost upset Georgetown. They did upset UCLA, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a lost art. That art of coaching, that art of basketball's gone away. It went away with the shot clock, in my opinion, because
you can't play with it. I mean, you
can't play with it. Yeah,
you can find teams that will do it to an extent where, like Princeton, they'll run all the backdoor cuts till somebody gets open. But eventually, within a few 30, 45 seconds, whatever it is, you got to shoot the ball. And I hate that.
And you got to figure it takes. You only have to do is ride out that shot clock on defense. It takes 6 to 7 to 10 seconds to get the ball up court, depending on how much pressure you get them. So now you're down. If I can just hang on here for 30 seconds defensively, I can transition.
Yeah.
Back then when I was playing, we'd be playing defense for 2 or 3 minutes. We'd have to stay focused and concentrated for 2 or 3 minutes because teams would try and we just keep the defensive pressure on them. We'll let them get to the bucket, and we'd eventually just force them to would eventually screw up before we did, because we knew we weren't going to screw up because we had the concentration.
Right,
and
right.
That was the mentality. But that art's gone. That's all gone away. It's like class basketball in Indiana. That's all, that art of that part of the game is all gone.
Well, I remember watching, I think it was 1984, 85, somewhere around there, sectional, one-class basketball. Rising Sun was a team that had won like 3 games. I don't even think they'd ever run a sectional before. And they were a small school with probably 300 students or so, and they played in a sectional semifinal, sectional championship game. I think it was the championship game against South Dearborn, which was a school with 1,000 students. And they came out and they stalled, and they ended up winning the game in double overtime, like 30-28 or something. And I mean, the thing is this, people think it's boring, but in a situation like that, at a school like South Dearborn, it seats 4,500, there's 5,000 people crammed in there. You get the South Dearborn team that thinks they're going to win. You get the small underdog. And the underdog all of a sudden is up 16-15, late third quarter, stalling the ball, passing it around. The other team's frantically chasing it. 5,000 people are going crazy. That was Indiana high school basketball. Now it's not.
Yeah.
I paint a picture like Norman Rockwell, can't I?
That's a treat for me to hear that story and Risley's story about the Indiana motion offense and the practices with the physical. It's just a treat for me to hear. I appreciate it a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of your fans that really appreciate that stuff.
Well, we appreciate all of the fans that listen. Remember, to get Bobby, who I think has been undefeated the 2 days he's picked games on here, you can go to the Sheridan
I'm not betting
Report.
Against him.
You can go to the Sheridan Report on the internet. You can also follow him. Bobby, what's your Twitter? Is it at Bobby Sheridan? It's a long one, I know that.
No, it's at Sheridan Report. That's it. At Sheridan Report.
Okay. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's a long one to me. So, all right, guys. we will be back tomorrow. We're not sure what the topic is yet, but we're going to come up with something good, so make sure you're back. Bobby will be at the end of the show again, so we can have a little banter about the games to pick. Whatever happened on this date in sports history, January the 17th tomorrow. So make sure you check back on thegruelingtruth.net. Make sure you follow Bobby on Twitter. Follow The Grueling Truth on Twitter, at GruelingTruth. Would love to have anybody that is on iTunes, because we never really push the iTunes. We push the website. But if you're listening on iTunes, even if you're not, if you've got an iTunes account, go to iTunes, review the show, talk about how great the show it is and how Risley's starting to catch up now mentally with me, but he probably never will catch it. But go in there, type us in a good review on there. You can hear us also on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, every place that you listen to sports podcasts or podcasts of any kind. You will find The Grueling Truth. So, for Bobby Sheridan, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.